Salutations, this is Crazed Kitsune, aka Khuma'zi Tayuun, and welcome to Summoner for Dummies, level 60. In this video, I will be going over what Summoner gains at level 60 that they did not have at level 50, and how this is going to likely affect your overall play as Summoner. With the introduction out of the way, let's jump right into the information. Apologies for any clicking in the video. That's just me muting my mic whenever I have to cough up some phlegm or blow my nose because my body hates me. At level 60, Summoner gains one new trait, Enhanced Intelligence 3, which grants them 24 intelligence, increasing the damage they deal, so it's still quite nice. They also gain 5 new skills after level 50. At level 52, you gain Pain Flair. This is a 5-second cooldown with a 5 yalm radius. It deals a potency 200 attack to the target and all targets within 5 yalms of it, and will consume 1 ether flow. Ethereal Attunement we will get to in a little while. It has to do with a skill we have not yet covered, at which point I will explain. At level 54, we gain Ruin 3. This is a global cooldown spell with a 2.5 second cast time. At level 60, it costs 1060 MP and has a potency of 150. That doesn't seem worth it at all, does it? It's because it's not. But there's a skill that will make this better. As you notice, it says that MP cost reduced while in Dreadworm Trance. Dreadworm Trance is going to be very important, but we haven't gotten there yet. At level 56, we have Tri-Disaster. This is a 60-second cooldown, which will immediately apply both Bio 2 and Miasma to your target. It also inflicts targets with Ruination, increasing the potency of Ruin spells used against them by 20. So that's nice. And the duration of that effect is 15 seconds. And now for a major skill. At level 58, we acquire Dreadworm Trance. Look at the size of that tooltip. This is a 20-second cooldown. Upon activation, it will increase the magic damage you deal by 10% and reduce the cost of Ruin 3. I believe it becomes as cheap as regular Ruin, if I'm remembering right. Dreadworm Trance will last for 16 seconds, giving you about enough time to cast 6 Ruin 3s. It will reset Tri-Disaster's recast timer, allowing you to immediately use Tri-Disaster to place a more powerful version of your damage over time effects on your target. Lousy snot factory. Anyway, you can only use Dreadworm Trance if you have 3 stacks of Ethereal Attunement. Well, what's that? Ethereal Attunement is what happens when you use an Ether Flow skill after you have acquired Dreadworm Trance. This is why I couldn't use Ether Flow more than once in my level 50 video, because I'd have to go into Dreadworm Trance to clear my Ethereal Attunement. Basically, anytime you use one of your skills that consumes Ether Flow to have some kind of effect on something, you gain an Ethereal Attunement. When you have Ethereal Attunements, your Ether Flow cannot be stacked in that slot. So once you have reached 3 Ethereal Attunement, you can't get any Ether Flow stacks until you activate Dreadworm Trance. while Dreadworm Trance is active, you cannot use the Ether Flow skill. But you likely won't need it in the middle of Dreadworm Trance. And as soon as Dreadworm Trance is over, you can use Ether Flow. And then 20 seconds later, if you have full Ethereal Attunement, you can use Dreadworm Trance again. Isn't that nice? And now for the final skill Summoner acquires at level 60, we have Death Flare. This is a 15-second cooldown that has a 5 Yalm radius. It is a potency 400 attack to the first enemy. The second enemy that it strikes will deal 10% less damage. The third, it will deal 20% less. The fourth will take 30% less damage, the fifth will take 40% less damage, and the sixth and beyond will take 50% less damage. We've seen this before. You can only use this while you are in Dreadworm Trance, but you should not activate Dreadworm Trance and then immediately use Death Flare. Sorry if you can hear that noise, that's a phone ringing because we're getting a telemarketer call, I think. Just try to ignore it. If you use Death Flare, Dreadworm Trance ends. So what you want to do is activate Dreadworm Trance, use Tri-Disaster, spam Ruin 3, and when when Dreadworm Trance is about to end, use Death Flare. If you do that, you will maximize the damage you can get out of Dreadworm Trance. It's not particularly complicated, and as you can see, these new skills don't really change your rotation too much. You're still going to be doing your damage over time maintenance, you're still going to be doing Ruin spam when you can't go into Dreadworm Trance, and when you're in Dreadworm Trance, you're just doing better Ruin spam instead. Followed by a mighty Nuke Blast. All that really changed is you gained one more Ether Flow consuming skill, which is also an area attack, giving you some more AoE potential. But with the boring explanations out of the way, let's go get to the demonstrations. Now, if you're in a group fight, you're obviously going to use Bane to spread your damage over time effects. Who does this dummy hate? Oh, you, standing over there. But let's say you're only fighting a single target. That means that Bane is a useless expenditure of an Ether Flow. So on those targets, here is essentially what you would do to very quickly burn through your Ether Flow in order to go into Dreadworm Trance for a nice big burst. It's not particularly complicated. The first thing you do is you will use Tri-Disaster. Then you'll use Fester, Pain Flare, Energy Drain, Dreadworm Trance. Ruin 3. Let's fill out Tri-Disaster. Ruin 3. Ruin 3. And Death Flare. That's the basic idea of what you do. And as you can see, your Ether Flow comes off cooldown at just about the right time for you to immediately do things again. So, let's do this again, because it's fun. So, Bane, Pain Flare, Energy Drain, Dreadworm Trance, Tri-Disaster, Ruin 3 spam! Let me turn the camera so you can see Ruin 3. I could have squeezed one more Ruin 3, but I wasn't comfortable. Now, that time, since I did it so much faster, I still have time left on the cooldown of Ether Flow. You're obviously not just going to constantly pop Ether Flow every time it's off cooldown like that. You're going to want to have some missing MP to recover, otherwise you're just sort of wasting a 60-second MP recovery cooldown. But The new summoner stuff isn't terribly complicated. If you're fighting a boss, well, you go in with full ether flow, you slap them with Tri-Disaster, then you slap them with Bane, Pain Flare, and Energy Drain, because otherwise you're waiting for, or not Bane, Fester, because otherwise you're waiting for Fester to come off cooldown, which, how long does that take? Oh, 5 seconds. So you could Fester and then Pain Flare, or I suppose you could just... Actually, what's probably a better option is to use Tri-Disaster, Fester, and then just do some Ruin spam and damage over time maintenance. Well, cast Ruin once or twice, then throw Fester again, cast Ruin once or twice, throw Fester one last time, go into Dreadworm Trance, use Tri-Disaster, start spamming Ruin 3, and when you're getting down to the last couple seconds of Dreadworm Trance, use Death Flare. This will result in you doing as much damage as you can in one burst. Since you can't use Ether Flow during Dreadworm Trance, that means that you can't throw Festers out during Dreadworm Trance to have a 10% more powerful Fester. That would be a little overpowered, I guess. But those are the new skills. That's how you put them to use. I obviously didn't do the best possible damage I could do because I was just trying to demonstrate the skills as quickly as I could. Because they're flashy and beautiful and glorious. And yes, when you're using Dreadworm Trance, you are drawing upon the power of the almighty Bahamut, King of Dragons. Oh, Bahamut, you're big and scary and powerful. Anyway, I hope this video has been informative and helpful. If it hasn't, well, you better watch out. I might drop a Death Flare on your head. Until my next video, goodbye.